Superheroes don't kill people.
Well, I do.
These videos are not for children. If you're a children, then piss off.
Greetings and salutations, it's me, your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso. And today, I'm taking a look at the movie that killed the DCU. I'm talking about the movie DC was banking on revitalizing their cinematic universe, injecting the franchise Viagra that is The Rock into the brand, and hoping for a considerable climax. Instead, the DC Extended Universe ultimately found itself unsatisfied and highly disappointed with its performance. This is the last movie made before the brand openly admitted its failure, and following the film they'd immediately try to course correct. This is kind of the movie that killed this movie universe. Maybe it's not what caused the downfall of the already declining brand, but it's certainly what sealed its fate. But in actuality, was it really that bad?
We'll find out today!
And everyone who's watching, I want you to buckle up. I'm going to ask you to stay on this ride until the end. Because I got some bad things to say about this movie that some people like, but I also have some good things to say about this movie that most people hate. There is a lot to talk about when discussing this film. From what went down behind the scenes, to what took place in front of the cameras. Before I even get into the actual story itself, let me briefly sum up what went on in the making of this movie. Now, if you can believe it or not, 15 years ago, The Rock, then an established wrestler, but not a completely established actor, was in talks to portray the DC supervillain Black Adam. This, of course, would take place in a Shazam project, which is very fitting as Black Adam is Shazam's #1 enemy. The project ultimately got stuck in developmental hell for over a decade, while The Rock continued to build his brand and acting resume and just overall celebrity profile. The Rock became one of the biggest stars in all of Hollywood, winning people over with his charisma, charm, and just likability. Becoming a major action star and comedy actor, Dwayne Johnson could do no wrong. So Warner Brothers, looking to make a buck, dusted off that old script, made a bunch of adjustments, and handed it over to The Rock, who said no words but instead only responded in an all too familiar eyebrow movement to confirm his involvement in the project. So long as there were a couple additional changes made. For starters, The Rock didn't want to be in a Shazam movie. He felt that Black Adam deserved his own story. Of course, wanting to appease The Rock and get in the Dwayne Johnson business, WB relented and went, yeah, sure, why not? Let's make a Black Adam movie. The original goal, to my knowledge, was for The Rock to play Black Adam in the first Shazam movie, starring as that movie's main antagonist, which makes sense because Black Adam really is Shazam's main antagonist. There's like 2 major Shazam villains and he's #1, which is why when it came time to make the second Shazam movie, they literally just had to make something up. The villains in Fury of the Gods are original to that movie itself, which, by the way, The Rock was also supposed to cameo in, along with the rest of the Justice Society, inviting Shazam to join them. Unfortunately, Dwayne ultimately declined and denied access to the character, which is a dumb decision. Black Adam and Shazam interacting makes the most sense creatively for the characters. As a matter of fact, I would go out of my way to say that Shazam showing up at the end credits of Black Adam probably would have made a lot more sense than who did. I wouldn't mind a movie setting up Shazam and a movie setting up Black Adam to ultimately lead to a clash between the two. I guess Zachary Levi wouldn't have gotten the same reaction as Henry Cavill wound up getting when he returned to the role, but for world-building purposes and staying true to the source material, a scene between the two would have meant so much more. I guess overall, I'm really grateful that Henry got the chance to play the part once more, even if it was extremely minimal, but it just doesn't feel nearly as warranted as the Shazam appearance. Sure, there's some history between Superman and Black Adam, a little bit. The two have definitely had their clashes in the past, but there's a whole lot more history between Shazam and Black Adam. They're arch enemies. They're kind of integral to the other's story. It's weird because it seems like The Rock had no desire or foreseeable future plans to work with Zachary Levi, and that's kind of a big problem. That's like getting cast as the Joker and then deciding that you don't want to fight Batman. Like, it's kind of a necessity. Unless you're Joaquin Phoenix, who is a Joker who lives in a world without a Batman, and then that's understandable. But he still had an interaction with the Bruce Wayne, so, even then so. It's my understanding that The Rock actually has a fondness for this character, which is why he was so heavily involved in the project behind the scenes. The studio was obviously not in a great place. Their movies weren't as well received as Marvel's. They needed something big to get butts in seats, something to turn the tide. And they believed this boulder could be just that. Everyone loves The Rock and flocks to see his movies no matter how bad they are. So you could see why it seemed like his inclusion was a safe bet. The studio was really banking on The Rock's star power. It's obvious by all the marketing and all the work that went into making this movie a reality that Black Adam was supposed to be big. There was a lot riding on the success of this movie. Whether it was the best or bust, it was inevitably going to change the future of the DCU. At the time, it was very clear that this movie was meant to reconstruct the DCU around Dwayne Johnson, which in terms of The Rock, I think it makes sense because he's such a big star. But in terms of Black Adam, just the opposite. I mean, Black Adam just isn't all that well known for people who haven't picked up a comic book. The character is included in very little media past page panels. And even the things that he is included in, he's never a main character. While everyone knows who The Rock is, nobody really knew who Black Adam was, nor did they care. It makes even less sense when you realize that while the character sometimes is personified as an anti-hero, for the most part is usually classified as a villain, and at the very start was simply that. Think about it. A world filled with heroes and villains, with the likes of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and The Flash, and you're gonna center it around an anti-hero that nobody knows? That's a really weird choice. What makes matters even worse is that Black Adam has always been a Shazam villain. And even if the guy is now being classified as an anti-hero, Shazam is still the superhero that he's most closely associated with. Their very origins are linked. Even in these movies, the same wizard grants both of them their unique abilities. And yet, they have no involvement with each other whatsoever. The two have matching outfits, for Christ's sake! Look at that! The two exist entirely separate from each other. That is so dumb I almost can't fathom it. By all accounts, Rock did whatever he could to have little to no engagement with the once Captain Marvel whatsoever. It would seem like The Rock is the Chad Frost of Zachary Levi's story, as he's come out and addressed some of the situations, not so subtly, but also not so openly. Liking and sharing posts talking about The Rock's narcissism and his treatment behind the scenes. Now look, I'm not a giant Zachary Levi fan. I mean, I like him as Shazam and as an actor, but as a person, he seems a little embarrassing. Still, despite that, I don't think he's wrong here. The Rock's shameless self-love sabotaged and hindered both the Shazam movies and the Black Adam movie. They're both unique and interesting characters, but I think they were two characters who were destined to play off each other. One without the other just doesn't work nearly as well. These characters are sort of integral to each other's stories. I think both products are lessened when you take the other away from them. I don't get the feeling that The Rock is really a team player. He's a huge star with millions of fans, but boy, is he his own biggest. In the show Young Rock, The Rock depicts his father as being a total narcissist. And let me tell you, that didn't skip a generation. Let us not forget his last DC endeavor before this was Super Pets, where he played the main character Crypto the Superdog, and Black Adam, and Black Adam's dog. The man was offered a villain role, but demanded that villain be turned into a hero and the main character of a completely different project, then rejected having any connection to the original project that he was offered. The character which spawned his character's existence. I really do think most of the movie's failure has to fall on The Rock and his mountain-sized ego. Now don't get me wrong, I don't dislike the guy. He seems like a nice enough dude who has always been really entertaining even if the work he's in isn't. But if the guy had it his way, he'd be up there on Mount Rushmore. The man loves himself like no other, and I think that his vanity cost this project greatly. Before creative directions changed, the face of DC was going to have a raised eyebrow. The next phase in DC films was going to have The Rock front and center, and if I'm going to be honest with you, I think that would have been a massive mistake. I don't know that this particular character should have a movie centered around him, let alone an entire cinematic universe. Maybe The Rock is the right guy, but Black Adam is not the right character to do this with. The Rock could have been an important cog in the machine, but instead he opted to be the machine itself. He could have made a good impression and a big impact on these movies had he been a valuable player rather than being presented as the future state's most valuable player. The man was trying to carry the whole team on his back, but he really didn't need to. There were plenty of other good players in the lineup. The stranglehold he had over Black Adam put unneeded pressure on the final product. This movie needed to be beyond successful. There was just too much riding on this now. He put himself in an unfavorable situation by doing so, because now the studio wasn't just expecting results, they were expecting major results. They were expecting unattainable goals up against unsurmountable odds. And that's really unfortunate because if I'm being honest, Black Adam really isn't that bad of a movie. It just wasn't anywhere near as successful as the studio needed it to be. But that's a story for a different day. Full disclosure here, I actually intended for this video to be a part of my Black Adam review, but it didn't feel right having a 10-minute breakdown of what went on behind the scenes before ever addressing what happened in front of cameras. We've discussed the people that are attached to the product. Now it's time to talk about the product itself. So if you enjoyed this video and would like to see my review on Black Adam, let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying,
I stopped being Dwayne Johnson and started being The Rock.
I was your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso, and I thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.